All right, guys.
Okay.
Hey, welcome. Good to have you on board. Glad that you joined today. And I promise you, if you said, man, today I need to get filled up. I need something new. I need to be refreshed and go out there and just know something that maybe I didn't know before. I need to talk to somebody or hear from somebody that's absolutely just crushing it. Maybe their intensity can level up my intensity. Maybe they've got some different things they put in their business that's actually elevated them to a high level. And they're going to tell me, well, today, guys, you're going to get that. You're going to get somebody. And when I say this, it's like, I hope people understand like what it means in the context, because this is somebody that's the fastest growing business, in my mind, probably the best structured, the best culture organization in what is the biggest IMO in the entire industry, which this industry is one of the biggest industries in the entire world. So to kind of put that into context from a standpoint of leadership and what she's doing, that's who's going to be speaking to you today. And guys, I'm not good at a lot of things, but I can get stuff from people, right? And today, my main objective is to get some stuff from Vivian, to get it from her. That way she can give it to you guys. And I'm going to do my best to extract it, because there's so much that she can give you. And so, guys, buckle up. We got Vivian on today. Vivian, good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today.
Well, hey, the pleasure is all ours. And I mean that. And so I've been looking forward to this. In fact, Vivian, this is the honest to God truth. And Casey could vouch for me, because he heard it a couple of times. I've been, in the office, and hey, we got Vivian on today. And they're like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, why? It's like, we love Vivian. My contracting, Hillary, the heads up contracting. I walked by and I was talking to an agent that was right by her desk. I said, Vivian's on the day. Hillary, which I don't even know, like if she's like, oh my God, Vivian, I love Vivian. I was like, you do? So I love Vivian. It's going to be good. So anyways, you got a lot of love up in here, a lot of love in the Apple Valley office for you.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for loving me. I love you back.
Love you. So, well, hey, talk about what you've done. There's some, I mean, Vivian, first of all, we've got to know each other over the last, year, 2 years. And, I've seen, like, when I first met you, your energy, like, I just was like, God, I just like being around you. I like talking to you, because it's like, when I spoke to you, I just felt like I wanted to go out there and do more, right? Because you're excited. And I think that's an important thing. If you're going to build a big business, bring the energy to your business. But you started building really quick, started selling really quick. The last several months, you've had an absolute explosion, right? I want you to talk about, for one, your personal sales, and I want to go into the business side of it too. But on the personal sales side of it, how have you been helping this many families? Like, what's your strategy? What's your schedule? What's your structure? Lead flow? Kind of unpack the sales side of it. And I'm also going to get into the business side as well for everybody, so they get both doses of the things that matter most here. But let's start there. Let's start with the sales side. Some of the things that have really made a difference for you.
Yeah, for me personally, when it comes to producing, I do mostly mortgage protection. I work really whatever leads I have available. So I will mostly work mailers, call-in leads. If I don't have enough, I will work whatever. When I started in the industry, I started with 50-cent leads, which are like the age mortgage protection leads. They are now $2.50. So if I have to supplement with that or whatever is available, I will. I don't run full time as much anymore, because the agency is growing so fast, but I still do try having like a full-time schedule while I'm running part-time. So I'm running like usually 2 to 3 days a week, but I will stack up like 10 to 13, 14 appointments in a day, because I do everything on Zoom. I'm spending about, when it comes to leads budget, I spend anywhere from $3,500 to, I would say, $4,500 a week in leads. And the reason is because if I have a goal of protecting 25 families a week, 30 families a week, I need to have enough leads to be able to do so. And whenever I make a commitment with myself, I don't have an option not to get there, right? So I do spend a pretty penny on my leads. And I love that. I love that, because at the end of the day, the more I'm spending, I know the more successful I'll be. It's non-negotiable to protect at least 400 families a year for me. I love being in the field, Paul. I do everything 100% on Zoom now, so I'm not really running around, driving around anymore. So I kind of like get to optimize my time when it comes to managing the agency. I mean, Adriano does a big chunk of, managing the agency, supporting the agents and all, but and then we do everything online now. So we have everybody on the dial team. I get to kind of like do one-on-ones with people between my appointments. So we really created a virtual system that works really well for our agency now, and for me as a leader, and being a part-time, full-time agent in the field as well.
Love that. So you're talking about lead flow, and I know somebody's like, dude, spends $3,000, 4,500, but think about the scale of that, right? Like most people say, hey, I invest $1,500 a week in leads and I help 10 families. Like Vivian, you're talking about helping 25 families in a week. And so it's all scalable. But what people don't realize is that the net is so much higher. Like if you go out there and double your lead flow, your net's not going to just basically go up by that amount. It's going to be significantly more because you're in the zone. You got momentum, right? It's no different than if you're taking multiple shots. You're more likely to have shots start going in because you're in that focus, right? It's nonstop. You have less kind of emotion tied to a shot that doesn't go in because, man, I got so many more shots to take. So there's so many things that are underneath the surface that lead to things that blossom and grow above the surface when you have the right enough lead flow and you stack the deck. And I love that. Your virtual sales, I'm interested in that. Like the way you set it up with your team. The reason why I'm interested is, for one, you're a leader that I believe leads at the right level, and that's the level of production, right? You lead with the intention to give back and serve others. I've heard your conversations and how you say you talk to the agents and how you challenge them, right? And have those conversations where they can interrogate their reality and you find out their goals. And we've talked about that. I remember hearing you talk about it when we were at Sean's, and like how you are intentionally trying to help move them, right? And that's a true leader that's doing it. And it's also saying, I care enough about you where I want to show you, but then I'm going to empower and challenge you to actually do what I'm showing you. And that's kind of what I get from you. Talk about like the virtual sales platform you got, like for your team. Like, why does it work so well? And then how do you do that? Are you selling and then you stop and then watch what they're doing and give them feedback on what you're seeing they're doing? Like, kind of unpack that if you could for me real quick.
So, think about the worlds that we live today, right, Paul? We live in a world that people are buying land in the virtual reality. We live in the world. My entire family was sick last week, and my baby came back from daycare, and he had a virus. And the next day, I had the virus, and the next day, my husband had the virus, and then 3 days later, my 12-year-old had the virus. Every single one of us, when we saw the doctors, there was an app on our phone. We saw the doctor on our phone, and then we got a prescription and the pharmacy, and it was delivered to my house. Nobody does things face to face anymore. Like it's that simple. Like if I see the doctor, if I need to do a COVID test or whatever it is, they send me to the CVS and they do it. It's like everything is virtual today. So to think that you can succeed in this business if you're not face to face to somebody, it's somebody it's a problem, and it's a problem that's right here between your ears. So what happened was, for me, like when I came to FFL, I came from doing, being a top producer in a virtual setting. And then I came here, I was completely burnt out from the virtual setting. I started doing virtual when, Zoom wasn't even a thing. And then I went in the field and I found really good success. And then when after the baby was born, I was going back and forth. And every single time that I would struggle with, virtual doesn't work. Oh, I need to go back in the field. Oh, I can't sell enough. I realized that I would go back to the other thing. So I would be virtually, and then I would be like, okay, I need to go in the field. And then I would go back to virtual because I was having the same issues that I was having before. So the reality is I came to the conclusion that we just really, really, really need to decide what is it that you want to do. You got to stick to it, and you got to just trust the system. So when Adriana and I came to that realization that we had all these people driving around like crazy, and some of them were in markets that just didn't fit right, we were like, we're putting everybody virtual, because that way everybody knows this, I'm a little bit of a control freak. You know this, well, I am a little bit of a control freak. That way I have the ability of kind of really working one-on-one with them. Like right before we made this transition, I had an agent that was struggling working here in Miami. She's from South America. She speaks Spanish. She speaks English, but she was struggling. She was driving 300 miles a day and she couldn't close a sale. And I know that she was really good. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go with you in the field. I'm going to go with you in the field to figure out what it is that she was doing that I could help her, but I never got myself to be able to go with her in the field. Then, do you know what I did? I transitioned her to Zoom and I said, get into this breakout room. I'm going to watch you all day. And boom, I found what was wrong. We're able to fix what was wrong. And now she's protecting 30 families a week. So the thing is, with the virtual system, what we did was we kind of like transitioned, like we started transitioning some people, and then we created our own virtual team. Now, a lot of people text me, email me, say, can I get your virtual team? I'll be very honest with you. I don't want a virtual team with a million people on it. I want my people. Why? Because our agents, they don't feel comfortable with like being vulnerable to a point that they're showing their the things that they don't know how to do yet to everybody, right? So we have a very small team. We get in there, and all of our top producers, all of them, protecting 80 families, 100 families, 60 families, they're all running Zoom all day long. What that does is that for the new agents, they get to watch how to do live. And there's many different types of styles in my agency. The way I run is very different than Marlene, that's different than Austin. So they get to watch. And then when they are running, I get to watch them and I get to kind of fine tune what I think that needs to be changed. And sometimes live on Zoom, they're running their appointments. I'm like, no, do this or do that and do that. And with that, they start building a really amazing confidence that changes everything. Also for the newer agents, they can say, hey, Vivian, can you watch this and see what is it that I can adjust? So between my appointments, in between my strategy sessions, between whatever I'm doing, I'm able to incorporate that with my day-to-day, and it doesn't really disturb my entire schedule and whatever it is that I'm doing. So that was a huge game changer for us. Because for now, like, think about this. Some people, like yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and I told them, I said, you know that movie, Ready Player One? Mm-hmm. It's a Spielberg's movie. And it's like, it reminds me of what's happening with the world right now. Like on that movie, like the world is all destroyed and people put like the Oculus or whatever to kind of like live in a virtual reality. And what's happening right now is that we are starting with that, where everybody's living, like buying things on metaverse and all this virtual thing is starting to happen where people are actually buying and putting their money in a virtual reality that doesn't exist. It only exists because we are creating it. So why would we think that we can't protect people's mortgages, over Zoom or over the phone? Why would we think that there's any difference at all? There's no difference. The only difference is in everybody's mind. So we now have our office, which is located over here in Miami, and we have our virtual office, which is all of our agents from all over the country. They are with us working together on that Zoom all day long, whether they're doing paperwork, whether they are running appointments, whether they are watching. And while we are doing that, we're creating a culture, which is we're all here to work with each other, to help each other, to empower each other. And it really has changed everything for us.
I love that. When it gets me thinking, baby, and I remember, being a new agent early on and thinking like, man, if I could just go on this ride along, if I could see that top producer, like what he does and how he does, like, it'll change everything. Like I need to see it. Right. And, it was like after a year, I finally went on this ride along. Right. And really because he needed somebody to drive him while he was booking more appointments because his travel schedule. Right. So he's like, yeah, just come on. You got to drive though. I'm going to be booking appointments and stuff. I'm like, good enough for me. And I remember I was like, maybe a year, if that, in the business. I was 20 years old. And I went and watched him in the home. And what the biggest takeaway I had wasn't like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Like his transitions and how he built value and his connecting. What I took was like, he deals with the same crap I deal with. Like I had put him on a pedestal as if he didn't have like to think about it or clients treating him certain ways. And I thought like I was afflicted by some special condition where I got the rude clients and this and that. But I saw him struggle. And this might be a bad character issue I had at the time, but I was like excited that he was struggling. I was like, yes, like everybody struggles, which means I could probably do this thing. And the thing is this, most people don't get to see that when you're going face to face. Because like, dude, how are you going to get somebody just to go drive around with you all day? Like, and it didn't really benefit me in the sense of like all the stuff I took from it, but it was just being with somebody, realizing that they deal with what I deal with. And that was kind of freeing. Like, it almost was like liberating, like that there's other people dealing with what I deal with, because we're in business for ourselves, but it sucks when we participate and choose to be in it by ourselves, right? You're for yourself, but you're going to be by yourself. And see, you created that environment, and everybody can do this, right? In fact, most teams have something set up like this where you can plug in and be a part of like a virtual office. But now they're working with you, Vivian, and you can go into this breakout room and give them feedback and direct and instant correction on what they tweak and adjust to get better. And I think that's so important. So everybody on here, if you're not plugging into a WorkSpot's office, because maybe you got one that's 9 hours away, when you said it kind of resonated different with me, Vivian. You said we have an office that's live here in Miami, right? And then you said we have the virtual, we have another office that's for everybody. But that's how you've made it. Like people, so you're saying people have their screen open and they're doing whatever they need to do for the entire day. Like they're at the office, so they're watching everybody else. They might be making some sales. They might be doing some back end support stuff. They might be doing some recruiting if that's what their schedule permits. But they're working with everybody else. Is that what you're kind of saying? They're all working together.
That's it. It doesn't mean that they are running appointments, but if they are working, it's like you have work hours, right? So let's say that you work 9 to 6, or if you work 9 to 9 or 9 to midnight, that you have to have your computer on, and you have to have your camera on, and you have to be on our virtual office, because a lot of times you're not even running appointments, you're doing something else, but by having that on, you're learning. And I'm talking about like our agency has the highest issue paid writer in, I probably would say, in the industry, Paul, because if you think about it, we protected 1,000 families with 50 writers, 49 writers last month. I don't think there's anything like it in the entire industry when it comes to one agency. So for new agents, you have the opportunity to come in and just literally like see that writer that's protecting 80 families live every single day, like just by listening. So what we try to get everybody to understand is, hey, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if if you're home watching TV, whatever. Have your computer on, be in the virtual office. And it's literally going back to that movie, which is like, it's a virtual reality. This is your virtual reality. If you want to become really good, just have it on and listen, plug in, learn from it. And that's going to like help you volumes when it comes to you growing and really creating a strong business like all these people have now, and just to touch on what you just mentioned, the biggest thing that I think that all of my writers, like specifically our newer writers, will take from it is sometimes you're going to get in there and you're going to see me having 10 appointments and I get no shows by 5 and I get 5 no closes. And people really, truly think that top producers don't go through that, which is nuts to me, because we go through it more than most people because we put crazy amounts of activity in to be able to have the results that we have. So we're going to get a lot of no shows. We're going to get a lot of no sales. So it's part of it, but it really brings the reality into a new agent's mind, which is like, it's okay to struggle because Vivian struggles too. If she can do it, I can do it. And I think that was a huge game changer for us.
I love that. That's so good. Well, you talked about how many writers you had and then how many families you helped. Like, so you had 49 writers. You helped over 1,000 families, right? So the average writer, what are they, how many families do they help in a month?
22.
Okay. So like the industry, like the average writer's helping like 2, right? Like there's some teams out there where they got 49 writers and they're helping 150 families. Like they're helping like 6 times less. So somebody that's watching this and they're like, man, my team, I had 49 writers last month and I just barely hit VP. What advice would you give them to help increase the amount of volume per writer? What would be, and if there's 2 or 3 points, that's great, but what would you give them? What would you tell them?
one thing that like I will never, if you ask me like, where did you hear this, who wrote it, I can't tell you. Like a long time ago, probably I would say 10 years ago, I listened to this program that I probably bought it off the internet for something that I don't remember, some self-improvement program or something. And there was this story about this guy that his dream was to find he lives in Africa. His dream was to find this huge gold mine. And he spent his entire life looking for this gold mine. And he never found it. One day he died. And then his family came over to bury him and get all of his assets and everything. And a couple months after he dies, they found out that his property was sitting on the biggest gold mine in Africa. But he traveled the world looking for gold, and he was sitting in gold the entire time. If he had just dig a little deeper where he was at, he would realize that he had everything he's ever wanted all along. So I think that's basically the concept that I think that everybody needs to understand. We are taught every single day to go recruiting, and recruiting is great. I think that everybody should be working on recruiting. My husband is recruiting maniac, he's recruiting all day long for 16 hours a day. However, I think that a lot of people forget that after you recruit somebody, that person needs to learn and needs to get to the level that you were able to. And for some people, the learning curve is going to be different. So a leader needs to understand, to learn what the needs of their newer agents are, to be able to help them to get to that next level, and then how to teach them to replicate the same. So for us, it was really understanding that we can't recruit people and just throw them to the wolves and say, hey, here's the script and get some leads and figure it out. There's a lot more that needs to be done to be able to take a newborn baby to a walking, talking baby. And that those first, I would say the first 6 months to a year with a new writer is crucial, because that's when they fail. That's when they quit. That's when it's done for them. So stop looking for gold somewhere else. Start digging under your feet. Work the soil that you currently have, and really go for nourishing that soil. And what you're going to understand over time is that you're going to be able to find the biggest gold mine in the world, and you're sitting on it right now. You just have to dig for it.
I love that. I mean, that's so profound, and there's so much to that, with really everything. It's like, if you could just basically serve where you're currently at, I think you're going to realize that there's so many blessings that are underneath the soil and the dirt, but you do have to do some work with that. And it's not like saying don't go find gold elsewhere, but if you're not serving what you have in front of you, then that's probably the wrong move, right? That's probably the wrong move. Could you go out there? Are you giving 100% to the situation that you're currently in? And that can even be, Vivian, have you reached out to all your warm market about this opportunity? You're out there trying to call these, CSG actuarial leads and this data and getting recruiting leads, but have you even served the people that you know in your community, the people that go to your church, the people that that go to the same, the sporting events that have their kids there? Have you served your warm market by exposing them to the opportunity? And if you haven't, man, maybe you're missing the gold mine that's right in front of you. Maybe you're missing the Andrew Taylor that's in front of you. Maybe you're missing the Brent Abernathy, all ththese warm market. Maybe you're missing them because you're out looking everywhere else opposed to looking what's in front of you. And I think that's applicable to almost anything, man. I mean, it could even be applicable to your relationships and everything else, but serve where you're at. I absolutely love that, Vivian. What I want to do is spend a little bit of time talking about the production side of it, because you are a Hall of Fame producer. You've helped a lot of families, and I do believe that's a big part of how you've got so many people helping so many families too, is the culture you've created, but also people on your team. They know, man, Vivian's gone out there and she's helped tons of families. She gets this, Talk about your lead strategy. If you can be specific on how many leads you get a week, what lead types you get, how many different lead types have you tried? Just kind of unpack that and really go through some of that lead strategy that you've had as you've helped all these families in these big months that you've had.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about mortgage protection just because mortgage protection actually saves my home when my ex-husband had an accident and lost his eyesight, and that really like allowed us to keep our $700,000 home. Without it, we would have lost it. So I'm very passionate about it. So that's what I do. I do mortgage protection. So I work mailers. I work call-in leads. To be honest, the majority of my leads come from call-in leads because I like quantity of it. I don't care if it's silver, gold. I don't care. I get, to be honest, I don't know how many leads I get a week, Paul. I spend about, I would say, $4,000 a week in leads. Just because, like if this is not a joke to me, this is a business. This is a business and it's a mission. It's a mission to help people. And if I don't have enough leads and maybe, this week people are not picking up the phone as much, then I might not reach my goal. And if I don't reach my goal, then it's negotiable. And it's nothing in my life is negotiable. Everything I decide to do is freaking non-negotiable. So I mean, a lot of times I buy too many leads, and I will give them to my agents if I have to, but I cannot take the chance that I don't have enough leads. So I spent about $4,000 a week. I mean, there was a time when I was like running full time. I literally had the entire country locked down for mailers. Like Gianna would call me and say, "Hey, somebody dropped these leads, these mailers. Do you want them?" I'm like, yep. Add it to my. And it was a time I was spending $7,000 in leads when I was really going full time with Zoom. So the thing is, I get excited about spending money with leads because if I'm spending that money with leads, I know that I'm going to make a 5 to 10 times, return on that lead spend because I have to, because my back's against the wall. It's a psychological thing, and so it's non-negotiable. It's crucial that I'm going with that. But to be honest, like whatever mortgage protection I can get. So if it's mailers, if it's call-in leads, if it's within FFL, outside of FFL, whatever it is, so I have enough leads. I book 40 appointments. Well, when I'm running full time, I book 40 appointments. I'm not running full time anymore. So I usually probably book around 24 appointments a week now because I'm running Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I run about 12 appointments a day. So because I'm running just 2 days, I just stack it up. So that way, if I get some no shows, I get some cancellations, I get some no sales, I still have enough leads and enough appointments in the bags, and I can still be successful. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, 100%. So you're doing everything virtual, right? And your days where you're sitting there doing virtual sales is Wednesdays and Saturdays. Are you doing like call to closes? Or are you booking an appointment because it's mortgage?
No, I personally, I think call to close is amazing. I mean, I have an agent right now, Carol Mosca. She protects over 100 families a month. Wow. She does everything call to close. She does not like to book appointments. She only books appointments if they're not available at the time. If they have screaming kids in the car and they were driving, something like that. But I personally do not like call to close. It's again psychological thing. Yeah, it's a thing that's the thing. Yeah. My ears. I don't like call to close. I book appointments. I run them just like I would in the field. I only do Zoom. I do not like telesales. But again, that's a preference. Now I have agents that are doing like amazing. Well, Carol, for example, 100% telesales. She has never done a Zoom presentation in her life. She protects over 100 families a month, right? Now I don't like telesales. I like to see people. I like the field. But now I do what I used to do in the field without going to them. They come to me, basically. That's basically the difference. So I do everything Zoom, all virtual. Yeah, basically it.
So the agent you have that's helping 100 families a month, that's doing everything telesales, do you know what their lead strategy is?
It's the same. My entire agency follows what I do. So all of my top producers. So Carol, for example, she does mortgage protection. She does call-in leads. She drops the mail. So I think she drops like 5,000 pieces of mail a week, which costs about $4,000, $4,500 a week. And then she gets the leads and she calls them real time, and she just goes for one call close. And if not, she just books the appointment and goes.
Got it. Well,
stacked everything that I do. If you find my virtual my virtual training on how to do this one appointment. It's the exact same thing, but she does it over telesales.
Got it. Well, I'll tell you this much. The one thing I'm positive, Vivian, is that your team is working, right? And so I think if they just started working nothing but final expense direct mail, if they started just working instant internet life leads, like whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it at a high level and get great results because they're working, you know? And that was the same thing for me. I had an agent, he said, man, what's your lead strategy? And I said, like, what it was, like my first year, my fifth year, my 10th year, like, what do you mean? When, like, which year? He's like, well, what was typical? What would you prefer? He said, if you could choose any lead, what do you pick? And I said, well, dude, honestly, I'd pick probably a brand new mortgage protection lead because it was just time spent involved to get the result was so much, it was just less. I could get on the phones a couple hours, book way more appointments, higher intent. But I said that when the market changed and I couldn't get mortgage protection leads, which that might shift and change now. I mean, we got the, you know, how many houses are not being sold and all that. So that can shift. But I said, when it did, I was never like worried because a lead is a family and every family needs protection, mortgage, rent, whatever. And so then I had a whole season where I worked nothing but final expense direct mail leads. And my result didn't change. I just had to adjust how many leads I was getting because the ratio was different. And then I said I had a season that it was nothing but Facebook final expense leads because we were stepping into that and we needed to based off the limited lid that we had with other sources and we wanted to keep growing. I said I didn't write any less with Facebook final expense. I said then it was internet leads. I worked nothing better. So it all works out. I think a lot of people ask that question because they're trying to justify that maybe my lead type is not that's why it's not working. The question is, I think what would be better, Vivian, is if all of a sudden you were able to get all your agents, their schedule, how many hours they worked, it all being audited, and they put that on the screen. Like, this is my schedule. This is how many dials I make. This is how many hours I'm dialing. This is how many appointments I book. This is how many recruiting. If they had their schedule out, how many hours I'm working, then I think everybody's question wouldn't be like, is it this or that? They'd be like, I guess I think I just need to put more hours in this thing, right? I was talking to Vivian, the chief distribution officer with Integrity a couple of days ago. And he said, you know, Paul, what I found is that this business is so simple and the harder I work, the luckier I get. He's like, that's basically all I got to say. He's like, when I'm putting in relentless, tireless work, opportunities show themselves, it all works out. When I'm thinking too much, nothing, it didn't work out that same. I overcomplicate it and I don't get the results. So it's just, can you go out there and just put in more hours of activity, right? Because if you can do that, that's going to make the biggest difference for you. Vivian, anything else that you believe, if you're looking back and you're kind of talking to somebody that's maybe kind of, you know, they've got these big goals, right? And what they're currently experiencing is not the goals that they want, right? It's kind of like the agent you said you sat with and they had the promise, they had the potential, you saw it in them, right? And most people I talk to, I feel like when I stop talking, you know, I get off the phone, I'm like, man, they have so much promise and potential to do so well here. If you're talking to that person, what feedback are you giving them to go out there and step more in alignment to achieve the goals that they've got?
Well, I'll be very honest, Paul. Do you want me to be honest? You want?
Oh, I definitely want the honest answer. I think everybody wants the honest answer. We want the truth.
So, what I tell my agents is that most people basically overthink this business and like way too much. And the reality is there's really only a few reasons you might not finding the success that you're looking for. The number one reason is going to be mindset. If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. So find the resources that's going to allow you to help get over that issue, which is your belief, right? A lot of times people say, 50% of this business mindset. No, 100% of this business mindset. And I'll tell you that because I have people in my agency right now that used to be with FFL, left FFL, went to 5 different IMOs, and then came back to FFL. And they couldn't sell insurance, couldn't help anybody, couldn't do anything. And then they came in and then, you know, I did what I do, which is mostly yelling at them. And then I was able to help them believe in themselves. And now they're protecting 70 families a month consistently every single week in and week out. So the thing is, the same person, same talent, same work ethic, but they didn't believe in themselves. So the first thing is belief. The second thing is, if you think that you're going to make a living and you're going to protect 20 families a month, 30 families a month, 40, 50, 60 families a month, is spending $500 on making leads, quit. Go work at McDonald's. You're going to make more money there. Because the reality is it's not going to happen. Your expectations are all wrong. So the thing is, you need to have the right recipe. I can't give you a recipe where it tells you, hey, go make cake, and you're going to be able to do the cake with like a quarter cup of flour, but it actually takes 3 cups of flour, and don't expect the cake to actually become a cake, right? So you have to have the right recipe, and you have to follow that recipe. So a lot of times newer agents, they come in here, they're like, oh, I don't know why. This person is protecting 30 families a month. This person is protecting 40 families a month. Why can I not do that? You spend $500 a week in leads? It's not going to happen. Like, especially when you're starting out, you need to like way more because you don't know what you're doing. In the beginning, you're going to get paid for your activity. Later down the road, you're going to get paid for your expertise. I can sit down and run 2 days a week now, and I can still protect 100 families. A brand new agent is not going to be able to do that. But the thing is, you have to have the right expectations. You have to like the biggest tip that I can give anybody that's not where they want to be is buy leads. Buy so many leads that you're buried in them and you have to work, put your back against the wall. Because what happens is, and then pick up the phone and call them too, because if you don't call them and you don't actually work them, it's not gonna do anything for you. But my point is, when it comes like leads are your freedom. It's like being an Uber driver and not putting gas on your car. How are you going to drive the Uber? It's not going to work out. It's the same thing. It's like you're trying to be an insurance agent. You're trying to protect people. You're trying to make a good income, but you don't have leads or you have very little leads. It doesn't work. So you have to have the right expectations. So what I would say is fix your mindset. Start plugging into things that books, podcasts, trainings, things that will help you believe in yourself, and then invest in yourself. Believe in yourself so much, go all in. And if you do that, there's one thing in this world really that will never fail you, is yourself, if you're willing to do what it takes. If you invest in yourself and you go to work and you have your mind right, the only reason you're not succeeding is yourself. You're holding yourself back. So if you just take that tonight, and start applying to your life and change your attitude, change your mindset, and change how you're structuring your business and what expectations you have, I promise you, in 3 months from now, you're going to be exactly where you want to be. And then in 3 months from now, where you want to be is going to be way ahead from where you was today. So the thing is, you are in control. And if you think that if you're not successful, it's for any reason but yourself, you're fooling yourself. It's that simple. If I can do it, you can do it. It's the difference is I'm not going to allow myself to fail because it's just not in my nature. Why are you doing so?
I love that. That's so good. In truth, right? Hey, the truth will set you free, man. So if it hurts a little bit, that's a good thing. That's one thing I loved about you, Vivian. You're like, man, I challenge my people to get better. And the reality is, if you truly care about somebody, you're going to tell them the truth, right? You're going to say, this is what it is. And if you don't like it, well, at least I told you the truth, and you can go do something different sooner, opposed to enduring this long, painful process that's never going to produce the result that you actually say you want to go out there and attain. And so I love that. And the thing is this, when somebody, a lot of times you get them asked, if somebody asks, well, how do I start with a couple $1,000s in leads if it's tight? It's like, well, I mean, to me, that's a sign and a reflection of the level of belief being so low, right? Because if I said, if you find a couple $1,000s in leads to go pick up, or if I said, hey, if you go out and find $3,000 in leads, there's somebody say it's somebody in your family you care about, and they need $3,000 for this treatment that'll save their life, you would figure it out. Like you wouldn't say, well, I don't know, it's $3,000. You would figure it out. And so if I believe without a doubt that this is going to lead to financial freedom and success, like I'm going to figure out how to come up with a couple $1,000s. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are we talking about here? And the reality is, I was in that spot. I had no money. I was 19 years old, and I figured out how to come up with a couple $1,000s in leads, and I was able to do that my second week. Well, how did I do that? Well, I had friends and family that all need life insurance because everybody needs it. So my first week, I helped a bunch of friends and family, took all that money, didn't pay any bills, didn't do anything. And I put it all back into leads. And I've never looked back. I never had I played with the house's money ever since week 2. So if you're on here and you're like, well, I know the 2, 3, 4,000 sounds great, but it's just tight. Well, sit down and intentionally reach out, DM people, talk to people you know, and go sell some insurance to people that are in your warm market. They need it desperately. And if you can't care enough to get uncomfortable to help them, you're going to get uncomfortable to go help a stranger? Like, hello? Like, that doesn't even make a lot of sense, which means that you don't believe in what you're doing either at the level you need to see success. And so this is some of the things that a lot of times you say something that uncovers like the depth of the belief. And that's the thing that needs to be addressed. So Vivian, this has been so good. Thank you so much for serving the team, serving the family, serving us here. And I know it's going to make a massive difference. I know that there's going to be people in 90 days that say, man, it was that call with Vivian and she spoke some truth, and I went out and did this, and now I'm seeing this. And so thank you so much for sharing with us today, Vivian. It's meant a lot.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. Thank you so much. And I hope it does help as many people as possible. And if you guys need anything, just do reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. All right, guys, go out there, make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.